What's up, mathematicians? And today we are going to be talking about word problems again and solving word problems that involve all four operations. We'll also look at assessing the reasonableness of solution. That means making sense of our solutions and seeing if they actually make sense or relate to something that we can tie it to. Before we get started today, let's go over our I will statements. Remember, your I will statements are your goals for this lesson. They are what we are trying to work on and learn more about throughout our time together today. As we continue on in our lesson, make sure you have your mind focused on these three things and showing them to your teacher. I will read the I will statement first, and then we will read it again a second time together. Make sure you're reading it nice and loudly so I can hear you, but no shouting necessary. Follow along, but listen first. I will identify the question in a two-step word problem. Say that one with me now. I will identify the question in a two-step word problem. Good job. Let's read the next one. Read it in your head first while I read it aloud. I will draw my solution and write it numerically. Say it with me. I will draw my solution and write it numerically. Our last one. Listen first. I will solve two-step problems with more than one operation. Say it with me. I will solve two-step problems with more than one operation. Nicely done, mathematicians. For our first warm-up problem today, you guys are going to need your whiteboards and a marker and to take a seat where you can see the video. Our first activity is a review of our multiples times 10. So we're going to be practicing our tens times tables. Instead of giving you guys an equation, I'm going to give you a fact or the answer to an equation. So if I said 10, I'll write it on my boards. You guys would pause the video and write the equation that would equal 10. So what times 10 gives me 10? 1. On your boards, I would see 10 equals 1 times 10 or 10 times 1 equals 10. Either of these are good answers. Let's try one more example. If I wrote the product 20, you're going to write what the multiple of 10 is on your board. If you are not sure, you can always count up. Count by tens. 10, 20. Skip counting is always a good resource. On your board, you should have 10 times 2 equals 20. Make sure to write the whole expression. Let's do a few more. Now, these are not practice anymore. If I wrote 30 on my board, what multiple of 10 would give me 30? It has to be multiplied by 10. Did you write 10 times 3 gives us 30? Give yourself a star if you did so, and let's keep going. What if I wrote 90? What multiple of 10 would give me 90? Did you write the expression 10 times 9 equals 90? If so, you're on the right path. Let's do 2 more. What if I said the product is 40? What multiple of 10 would give us the product of 40? Did you write 10 by 4 times 4 and hold it up on your whiteboards? If your neighbor has that, give them a high five. Let's do one more. If I had the answer 70, what expression would you write on your board? What equation would you write? Did you write 10 times 7 equals 70? Nicely done, guys. We're going to get on into our lesson today. Before we get started, make sure you guys have cleared your whiteboards and you're going to be doing a problem along with me before you guys get to work on more word problems as a class and with your teacher. Before we start today writing anything on our whiteboards, let's look at the problem we are working with. Read along with me. Joe has $173 in the bank. He earns the same amount of money each week for 7 weeks and saves his money at the bank. Now Joe has $208 in the bank. How much money does Joe earn each week? Let's start by drawing a picture. Pick up your markers and follow along with me. Now, in the problem, we were told that Joe has a total of $208 in his bank account now. So that's the total of what he's working with. Let's draw a picture. We also know how much money Joe his total is $208. That's how much Joe has in the bank. Joe started with $173 already in his bank account. That's pretty nice for Joe. And it told us how many weeks does Joe work? Told us he works 7 weeks. So we're going to split what's left up of our box into 7 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to fix my own line. So in our picture here, we represented what we know and then what we're trying to figure out. We don't know how much money Joe has made over here. So our question mark is representing the number of dollars Joe puts in the bank. So Joe worked for this 7 weeks and he ended up putting more money into his bank account or adding on to his 173 to get that 208. We still don't know how much is over here. Let's first start looking with the numbers that we have. To figure out what our question mark is or how much this portion of our block is, let's start with the total amount, 208, and subtract what we already know Joe had in the bank account. He already had 173. I'll let you guys do the math. Pause the video, subtract these two numbers, and come back and tell me what the question mark equals. Good. The question mark equals $35. Now, this answer is reasonable, or it makes sense, because if we were to flip this around and say 173 plus 35, we would get 208. That's telling us that this checks out. We did the right math here and we got the right total back. I'm going to erase our reasonable work on the bottom. But did we answer the question yet? Let's go back and look at our problem. Our question, if we look back at our problem here, was how much money does Joe earn each week? We just did the math and we figured out how much money he added into his bank account. That's what he made at the end of the 7 weeks. Let's go back and figure out how much he made per each week he worked. Since we know we still need to figure out how much money Joe earned each week, we needed to look at the specific part of our model where we split up. He got this $35 over 7 weeks. We split our boxes into 7 parts before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Each box represents one of the weeks that Joe worked. We have to figure out how much money Joe earned in one of those weeks. To do that, we have to take the $35 he made over all 7 weeks, and we have to split it into 7 equal parts. Let's write the equation for that. 35 divided by 7. When we're splitting a number up into equal parts, we're doing division. Now, we don't know what that mystery number would be. I'll give you guys a second, see if you can help me out with this part. What would our mystery number be over here? How much money did Joe make a week? Good. Joe made $5 every week. That makes a lot of sense, or is a reasonable answer, because if I think about myself and the allowance that I get in a week, it's about $5. So it makes sense that Joe is making about $5. It also makes sense because if we flip this around and we checked it, 7 times 5 would give us that $35 back. Both of those are good reasons why our answer of $5 makes sense, or it's a reasonable answer. You guys are going to work on your problem set problems. Start at number 1 together as a group and then work through some independently and with a partner. Take your time. Make sure to show your work. Good luck, mathematicians.